Hey, welcome back to Rust Order Garage. Today, we're going to get the cab off this 56 3800 chassis, get it in the air so we can get the half-ton chassis underneath. But before I do that, let's take a look at the LS donor that I bought last night that'll supply the engine and the transmission, because yes, I forgot to mention, it is a two-wheel drive donor for this build, and probably a whole lot more. So this is the truck. So this is a truck I bought last night. This is a 2001 Silverado, half-ton, 5.3, two-wheel drive, so 4L60E, but without all the four-wheel drive junk to deal with. And one of the worst, I'll say, mechanical vehicles I've seen that somebody was actually still driving. I bought a lot of these in bad shape, but none of them were on the road. This thing was actually being driven. I think one wheel has a brake, and yeah, the frame's rotted in half. It's in bad shape. But looking at it, it actually has some parts on it that I may be able to sell. Not all the free scrap wood that came in the bed, but you know, I think it has one good door, and the tires are not bad. I think I can sell the tires off of it. And then with scrap, I'm hoping to break even on this thing. Engine is clean. It looks like it has a, at least recently replaced alternator. The battery is like brand new. It's got a date of a year ago, so that's excellent. And I'm hoping we can use a whole lot of this stuff on the 56 and see how that goes. But for now, I'm going to throw it online, get it listed for parts, and see if I can sell anything off of it. Oh, and I forgot to mention, this truck was $500. That's it. Guy was asking $650. I said, hey, you take $500 for it? He goes, let's get it done. Okay, I guess you want it gone. So $500, I bought this truck, 20 bucks gas. It was local. So I'll add $520 to the budget. But look at this thing. It's got only 144,000 miles, which is like a baby. Excellent oil pressure. That's cold start. I only ran it for about a minute. We're at almost 60 pounds of oil pressure. This thing is ready to go. No service engine light, no issues. Perfect for the 56. So this will get installed. Let's get back to it. All right, it is some hours later because there's too much to do in a day and not enough hours. So I think it's time to fly the cab. I think everything is disconnected and we're ready to go. I guess I'll find out in a minute. Here goes. One wire attached. Got it. Must have been for the gas tank. Don't know. Off it goes. All right. It's in the air. All right, now I can get this chassis out of here and get the half-ton chassis in here. All right, that's the last you'll see of that chassis until I do the Mater project. But that's not going to be for a while. Half-ton chassis in the garage. All right, half-ton chassis in the house. And I don't know all that I'm looking at, but I assume these are for the radiator support mounts, so I'll leave those. I don't know what this stuff is about. Maybe for emergency brake or something? I don't know. Tri-5 guys are going to have to let me know what the deal is with that. But the first thing that's going to happen with this is front suspension swap. And so I'm going to have to remove all of this, obviously, and I'm going to keep this whole front suspension because I have a 55 Chevy 4-door that I want to change to a 2-door and build a gasser type hot rod. And what better front end to use on a Tri-5 Chevy than a Tri-5 Chevy truck? So I'll take this straight axle and steering box and leaf springs and all that and put it right on that 55 and build a nice little gasser. So it's going to be a whole lot of rivets to knock out. But the first thing I got to do, just like the other truck, I got to pull this steering column off and get the steering box out of the way so the cab can come down, and I'll set it back on the original mounts that are still there, just no hardware. I don't think I could find it inside the cab. I'll look again, but I bought new stuff regardless. So steering column and steering box coming off, and then it'll be time to take a quick couple measurements here, and then the front end's coming apart. All right, just like the first time, we get the big nut off of the pitman, and it looks like it's already loose. Somebody's been here before me. That's not a surprise, because obviously this thing's been sandblasted. So, the nut off of here. Now we'll see if the pitman arm has also been off recently. Put the puller on it. And see if it just comes right off. Yep. So, somebody had this whole thing apart before. That just fell off. That was no big deal at all. All right. I'll get these 3 bolts off, which look like factory bolts, but 2 of them are flipped the wrong way. So, yeah, this thing's been apart before. Everything's loose. All right, so the first thing that's going to happen with this frame now that the steering wheel is gone, steering box is gone, is obviously, as I said before, the front suspension. But I want to mark the factory locations of where the front axle center line was. Now, I'm not going to use it. I'm doing it by eye because, as far as I know, that's not where it's going to be anyway or where I want it. But I am going to mark it. But if you're trying to put things back in a factory location, you can't just do that now. With no weight on this frame, the axles are not in the center line of where they'll be when there's weight on the chassis, and that's because this is a leaf spring suspension. So what I'm talking about here, say on the front here, if you were to, you know, use a level and go straight up off the center of that front axle up to the frame, it's not where it's going to be when there's weight on the chassis, and that's because leaf springs. See, they have the shackles on either end, and the axle is going to move in whatever direction the shackle is when you put weight on it. The spring is going to compress, the shackle is going to rotate to the front in this situation, and the axle is actually going to move forward. And it looks like, from what I can figure, it's probably about a ½ inch right now behind where it would be with weight on the system. And the way I can verify that is, same thing's going to happen in the rear, except the shackle's in the back of the frame. So when this goes under compression, the rear axle is going to move rearward. But what I found online was a drawing of these frames, and it says that this rivet here is the center line for the rear axle. Now, if you look straight down, it looks pretty much there. It might be a little bit forward, which would be expected. What I'm going to do is measure from here. I have 1.5 inches to the center of this rivet. So I'm going to measure from here and go 115.5 inches forward, which is the 114 wheelbase plus the 1.5 inches. So I'll be up here at 115.5. I'll make a punch mark, and that should be theoretically the factory center line. And that's just going to be a reference. Once I put the fender on the cab there and look at it, we'll figure out where it really needs to be. But I just want that for my own peace of mind, I guess you could say, before I take this whole front suspension apart. All right, so I'm going to go up here from the back of that bracket to 115.5. Just make a mark. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Yeah, that's 1.5 inches off. So 115.5 is right there. All right. And then take a punch and mark it. Just for reference. And here, just to show you as an example, is what I mean. I have this level sitting pretty much in the center of that hole on the over the axle there. And there's the bubble. Get it perfect there. And there's my line for the wheelbase. So you can see right now, with no weight on the suspension, the axle is about a ½ inch back from where it would be with the body on and weight on the chassis. So the only reason I'm showing you that is if you were doing something stock and you wanted to put things back in the stock locations, you really need to get weight on the chassis and get the suspension compressed to know where the axles are going to be, unless you have a drawing, and then you can line things up. But in this case, I don't care about any of it because I'm doing it by eye. That's how I always do it, because it just seems that things are usually never perfect anywhere from the factory, especially with leaf springs. It seems like they'll offset the axles on purpose so that when the suspension compresses, the wheel has room to move. But in this case, going independent front suspension, there is going to be no fore and aft movement of the front axle. It's just going to go up and down. So we're going to center it like we want it centered. So I'm going to blow a whole lot of rivets out of this frame and get this front suspension off, and we'll go from there. And actually, now that I look at it, I'm not going to blow a whole bunch of rivets out. I'm only going to get, right now, 1, 2 on each side for these rear mounts. I'm going to unbolt the leaf spring there, and that's it. That should drop the whole front out. I'm going to take these leaf spring mounts out of here before we finish up and paint the frame and all that. But I'll leave them in there for now, but I am going to save them because, like I said, I want them for the 55 Chevy Gasser build. I'm also going to Looks like somebody already took one of them off. I'm going to remove this upper shock mount because I'm not going to need it. We'll get that out of the way. And I'm going to remove this, which I think was part of the e-brake system. So I got 2 rivets there. So I'm going to use a plasma to blow the heads off these things just because it's faster. You can use a little grinder with a cutoff wheel. All you do is cut the heads off and knock the rivets out. They're real easy. So time to get All right, I'm in the middle of getting these rivets out of here. These ones are tough. And I just realized that this spring hanger actually goes up under the frame as well. So from this side you can see it's under here. There's rivets here and here, but they all have to come out anyway because I'm not even thinking. That cross member's got to go. It's way high. I don't see how I could ever use that to put a modern transmission in. So I am going to cut that out, get rid of that as well. Okay, that sucked. Even with the plasma to blow the heads off, those were tough. And then I have a bolt that I use that I ground down the end, and I use this as a drift punch to punch them out. And they were tough. Holy smokes. I left the cross member in place for now just to keep the frame from moving, going anywhere. But I got the rivets out for both of the rear leaf spring hangers, so at least it'll come down. What a pain that was. And this should be easier. I'll unbolt the hangers off the shackles off the front here. All right, just figured something out here because of the way this is made. If I take the outside nut off, I can unscrew the inside and take it out. Alright, got this side apart. Okay, well, I thought the front suspension was ready to come out, but it's not. I made a mistake. Those rivets there on the back of the cross member, yeah, no, they're not holding in the mount. Oh, that guy there is on each side. So, 2 more rivets to do. Okay, front suspension removed, where it will sit and wait to get used on the 55 Chevy, whenever that happens. That is going to be it for this video. Sorry I didn't get more done. Just didn't have time. Too much to do and not enough hours. In between doing this, I was bouncing back and forth with messaging and such, and people are actually looking for parts from the gold truck. So I've been trying to get some of those parts off, get that moving, and some other things I'm dealing with one of my puppies. So yeah. So I will see you on the next video, and we'll continue on. Thanks for watching.